Hello friends, in lecture 2 of chapter 1 reproduction in organisms, today here we are going to study in detail about sexual reproduction. Various phases, various processes and various events involved during sexual reproduction we are going to study here. First of all, some features of sexual reproduction. What is it? Okay. During sexual reproduction, formation of male and female gametes take place either by same or different kind of individual of the opposite sex. Here, gametes fuse, they form zygote and zygote develops into new organisms. This process is comparatively complex and show than asexual reproduction. Here, offspring, they are not identical to their parents or among themselves. Juvenile phase. Juvenile phase is important here. Actually, it is the period of growth and maturity before sexual reproduction. Same phase is known as vegetative phase in plants. So, juvenile phase and vegetative phase in plants, actually it is the period of growth and maturity before sexual reproduction. If we talk about sexual reproduction in plants, one term is important here, flowering. At the end of vegetative phase and beginning of reproductive phase, it appears. During this phase, plants, they come into flower. Actually, it's a one type of sexual reproductive organ. Sometime it appears throughout the year or sometime in some plant it is seasonal also. This flower, they possess male and female sexual organs and they are responsible for sexual reproduction in plants. In annual and biennial plants, they show three phases. First, vegetative, second, reproductive and third, senescent. Vegetative phase is before reproduction here. It is actually growth and maturity period. During reproductive phase, plants, they come into flowering for sexual reproduction purpose. And once reproduction process is over, it's a one type of old age or aging. It is known as senescence also. Some plants, they show flowering throughout the year and some plants during certain season they come into flowering. Over and above this, some unusual flowerings are also observed in nature. Why it is known as unusual flowering? It is not like that throughout the year or some specific season they come into flowering, but it takes long duration of time period, certain years, and after certain years they come into flowering. One of this example is bamboo species. Actually, in these plants, they come into flowering in their life only once, and it is generally after 15 to 100 years. After this flowering period, after fruiting, their life is over. So, here the duration of flowering is too long. Second interesting example is strobilanthes. In these plants, actually flowers comes in once in 12 years. And generally it is flowered during September, October, and it was seen in 2006 year. If we talk about animals, okay, here animals also, juvenile phase is followed by morphologically and physiologically changes prior to active reproductive behavior. It means that before sexual reproduction, reproductive phases, okay, they show some changes in their life, and after these changes they enter into phase of sexual reproduction. Regarding sexual reproduction, some changes are seen during reproductive maturity in animals. Actually, which are these changes? In females of placental mammals, they exhibit cyclic changes in the activity of their ovaries and accessory ducts as well as hormones during the reproductive phase. It means that here females, they show some changes in their body for maturity to enter into sexual reproductive phase. In various animals, this cycle is observed of different kind. Actually, two type of cycles are observed. If we talk about non-primate mammals, it means that in cows, sheep, rats, deers and some other animals, this cycle is known as oestrus cycle. During this cycle, these changes are observed for sexual reproduction. Second type is menstrual cycle. This cycle is observed in primate mammals. Which are these animals? These are monkeys, apes and humans. So, for the purpose of sexual reproduction in non-primate animals as well as in primate animals, some changes occurs in females of placental animal and they show oestrus cycle and menstrual cycle during this phase. In some animals, they are known as seasonal breeders, in which this cycle, above cycle, exhibit only during favorable season. It doesn't mean that throughout the life, during some favorable season, it appears. Some are continuous breeders. In their life, this cycle is active throughout the reproductive phase. So, mainly here two kinds of breeders are there. Some are seasonal breeders and some are continuous breeders. As you know, mainly three phases are observed in higher organism. First, before reproduction, second, reproduction and third, after reproduction. At the end of reproductive phase, it's a parameter of senescence or old age which is observed after reproductive phase. During this phase, some changes occur in the body like slowing of metabolism. It means that all metabolic activity of body, they grow in slow rate. It is sign of old age and ultimately it leads to death. Hormones are responsible for the transmission of between the three phases, actually reproductive, pre and post reproductive phases. So, in the life cycle of higher organism, okay, mainly these three type of phases are observed. Now, events in sexual reproduction. Mainly three kinds of events are observed during sexual reproduction. Here, first is pre-fertilization events, second is fertilization event and third is post-fertilization event. In all three kind of events, various processes, various mechanism is observed. First, pre-fertilization event. As the name suggests, it takes place before fertilization process. Here, mainly two events occur. First, gametogenesis and second, gamete transfer. During gametogenesis, gametes are formed. It means that in sexual reproduction, male and female gametes, they are produced during gametogenesis phase. Second event of pre-fertilization event, that is gamete transfer. During this event, gametes are transferred from one place to another place and that's why it is known as gamete transfer event. After pre-fertilization events, fertilization process take place. It's also known as syngamy. Here fusion of gametes take place. After fertilization, third and last event is observed, which is known as post-fertilization event. Here in post-fertilization event, zygote formation take place. It means that fusion of male and female gametes, it result into zygote formation. Second, embryogenesis. Above formed zygote undergo various changes, development process, and embryo is formed, and this event is known as embryogenesis. After formation of embryo, multiple division is take place, and at the end of this process, new organism is formed. So, this way, these are main three events observed during sexual reproduction in higher organism: pre-fertilization, fertilization, and post-fertilization events.